All right, declaring this live on this great Friday, May 12th. May 12th, welcome in. It's the Slate. We're going to fill your brains with sports for the next, 30, 40 minutes. Myself, Jeff Ulrich, my co-analyst, Matt LaMarca, co-analyst, co-host, whatever we want to call him. PIC, Matt's going to be joining me. We're going to be talking all kinds of stuff. We got basketball playoffs. We got hockey playoffs. Golf's going on, although that's really boring. But there is a PGA Championship next week. And, it's Matt and I, so we'll probably talk at NFL at some point. But we didn't really put a game plan together because it's Friday. And Matt and I pretty much talk about anything. So I'm going to leave it to him to decide what we go to first. What do you want to do, my friend? You feel like basketball is first things we should be doing? Some big games tonight. 2 eliminations.
I want to talk for 40 minutes about Lightning McQueen. Just that video that the Titans put out. No, I think basketball is a good place to start tonight.
Okay. We will definitely save 5 minutes at the end for the NFL videos and some totals and stuff, because that was amazing. There was 3. Let's just talk about it really quickly. There was 3 to me: the Titans, the Chargers, and the Jets. Did you see the Jets one?
I didn't watch the Jets one yet. I watched the Chargers, I watched the Titans, and I watched the Bears, which I thought was good. But it's all around that show, The Bear. So if you haven't seen that on FX, then you might not appreciate it as much.
I don't know what the guy who was doing the Jets one is called. It's like some kind of global finding game on Google, but
I did see that. I'm sorry. Yeah. I did see that. That was ridiculous.
It's just like you show him a piece of concrete and he's like, oh yeah, it's Buffalo.
Unbelievable.
What? How? Like what? Anyways, I don't even know if that's real, but apparently it was. It's absolutely insane.
There are people that can do that, and there are people that can do it for the whole world, not even just the United States. And anytime I see it, it blows my mind.
Yeah, no, that was
you could show me the block away from me and I would be like, I don't know.
Show me my neighbor's house and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's
looks familiar, but I don't know.
I'd be the same way. No, I thought that was cool. I just thought it was a cool video too. I like the ones that were shorter. That's why I like the Titans as well. So, but there's some good ones out there. The Cowboys actually was cool too, with the Yellowstone and stuff. But yeah, there's some hit and miss. I like how the Chiefs just didn't even do a video. They're just like, here's the schedule. We're the world champions. You can figure it out. Anyways,
it is great. It's very on brand for Andy Reid as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we got 2 games, man. We got the Knicks and the Heat. Knicks coming in +6 on the road. A pretty good fight. They just about blew game 5, but they held on. I don't know, man. I mean, the Heat were the underdogs before the series. Interesting game tonight. And then we got the Warriors coming in. The lines in this series are so strange to me, but I mean, it's kind of played out. I mean, the Warriors covered the 7.5 last game, but now they're +3 underdogs. I guess that's about correct when you start thinking, but I don't know. Anyways, you're the basketball expert, man. Let's start with the Knicks. What are you expecting tonight? What are you looking at? Tom Thibodeau going to play like every player 48 minutes? Probably.
Right? I mean, he already did in game 5. Jalen Brunson and Quentin Grimes both played the full 48. So I think, with Emmanuel Quickly being doubtful, there's just no guard on the bench right now that Thibodeau trusts. So yeah, both of those guys are going to go 48 minutes again. And I think we learned from the Suns that that's dangerous. It really seemed like they just ran out of gas last night. Shots that Durant and Booker were making all playoffs, they just could not make yesterday. And the fact that the Nuggets scored 125 points, like, it didn't end up being a huge thing. Like, the Suns would have had to have played really, really well just to contend in that game. But I do think that the fatigue is going to be a real thing for the Knicks in this spot. So, the Sharps and the public both like the Heat. This line is even up to 6.5. Elsewhere, still 6 on DraftKings Sportsbook, which is a good number, I think, to target them at. I think that the Heat get it done. Jalen Brunson had like a really superhuman type performance in game 5. And, after playing 48 minutes, I just don't know if he can do it again.
Yeah, it's a big ask. Absolutely. It would be, I'd love to see this go to 7 and have him come back in New York, but
absolutely.
Man, I mean, look, the Heat aren't the Nuggets. That's the one thing. Like we said, they're the 8th seed and stuff, but I mean, they're also performing above expectations. So yeah, pretty hard to make an argument for the Knicks. Definitely. Is there any player props though you think we can like target here, or something that you're interested in? Do you think the fatigue works in favor of one, like some of the Heat players, or you fading some of the Knicks players? What's the angle?
So the one I wrote up today was the over on a rebounds plus assist prop for Quentin Grimes. I think that the jump shot is the thing that you really see go when we're talking about fatigue, right? But the peripherals, you're still going to benefit just from being on the floor that much.
Yeah.
And did they take it down?
Looks like they took it down.
That's unfortunate.
Looks like it looks like you moved the market.
I would say any over on Brunson or Grimes is appealing to me, because a lot of these numbers are not set like they're going to play 48 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even just looking at the Jalen Brunson number seems a little low. I mean, 11.5 for assists and rebounds. Right. I would have expected like probably 12.5. So yeah.
I would shy away from the scoring props with those guys potentially. Particularly like a 3-point prop. I'm not sure if they'll have the legs to make a bunch of threes, but peripheral stats, just being on the court for 48 minutes, like you're gonna rack up some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking through here. Any other thing? Double doubles? We targeting anyone there? Josh Hart plus 1,600.
Yeah, that's not bad. Josh Hart, though, was not somebody that played as much as expected. He played 9 minutes in game 5.
Right.
Tibbs really tightened things up. Randall and Barrett both played between 35, 36, and 38 minutes. And then really it was just Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein splitting the center minutes. The bench combined outside of Hartenstein for like 21 minutes of playing time. So it's kind of tough to trust any of those dudes right now.
If you're taking a pure points prop on the Knicks, would you rather take Randall or Barrett?
I would probably lean towards Julius Randle.
Yeah.
And it's a tougher sell for sure if you're just looking at the recent game logs, because Brunson has been filling it up in this series, but Julius Randle, he's still getting the minutes. He's still a high usage player. The shot just hasn't been there for him. And that can turn around at any point. Some of the body language stuff with Randle obviously isn't great. There's been a lot of that going around on Twitter, but he's going to be out there for 38 plus minutes. I think he can very well get to 23 plus points.
It feels like if Randall did, like if the Knicks have a path, maybe it is through Julius Randle tonight, maybe turning it on, right? So maybe that's a good kind of single game parlay, correlation there. Maybe take the over on Randle and the Knicks to win if you're so inclined. Not that I'm necessarily advocating for that. Just throwing it out there. Always interesting if you're going down the SGP.
No, I think that's a good correlation shout
wormhole. So there you go. Okay. Anything else on this game? Any unders or anything like that, or guys are fading? Or I mean, if you don't have it, we'll just go.
I think you can always look at a game total under if when the Knicks are involved in the playoffs. The last game was a little bit more high scoring than you might expect, but the Knicks were very efficient. They averaged over 121 points per 100 possessions. That's not something I expect to continue. So I think I've been playing the under on Knicks games all playoffs. I think you can totally continue to do that tonight.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, a tighter game, closer game is probably what Miami wants to play as well after getting behind in the first game and they're at home. So that makes sense. That will be interesting. Like I said, I think that series would be super interesting in a game 7 because, I mean, again, the Knicks were favored at the start. So let's see what Miami really has and see if they get pushed. But certainly people expecting the Knicks to get closed out tonight. Okay, next game is even more interesting. Warriors can get closed out again here. Lakers have their chance at home. I mean, the line's moved down to 3. I haven't looked at where the action's going or anything like that. So you just give me your take on this, man. I mean, the Warriors came in, obviously took care of business in game 5. It was actually, I mean, it was impressive, but this series have been back and forth, and the Lakers have shown that they're a big, long team, and have certainly it's given the Warriors trouble. So I think that comes back, or do you think the Warriors can pull it out again?
I'm never counting the Warriors out. But I would be very surprised if we saw 20 points again from Draymond Green. Right. I have no idea where that Draymond performance came from in game 5. Draymond, like, he's still a guy that's capable of making an impact on the floor, but it's almost never as a scorer anymore. It's through assists or rebounds or defensive stats. Him scoring 20 points on 7-11 shooting, even knocked down a 3-pointer. That's just kind of bizarro world. So they're going to need somebody to step up in this game besides Steph Curry. Steph's kind of been a constant all series. He hasn't been at his most efficient, but he's getting to, roughly 30 points a night. Yeah. They need Klay Thompson to come play tonight, especially since Andrew Wiggins is banged up. I mean, he's tentatively expected to play, but there's reports that his shot is going to be like impacted by this injury that he's suffering. So it really sounds like this is a spot for Klay Thompson. And of course, historically, Klay Thompson has had some huge game 6s in the past. The game versus Oklahoma City in 2016 is sort of the prime example. But I think this game is kind of a coin flip. I would side with the Sharps. The Sharps like the Lakers. Yeah. But I don't want to bet against Golden State in this spot. They're just every time you think that the rain is over, they just come out and they show you that they've got enough left in the tank. Yeah, I mean, even in game 5, I mean, again, like you said, I mean, Draymond Green coming from the clouds, basically. Who knows? I mean, you mentioned the injury to Wiggins. Never know how bad it is or how much it's actually going to affect him. And then there's Klay Thompson. So, yeah, I mean, this one I've followed this one because it's a late series, so I always catch some of it. I think the Lakers have a path, but it's like you said. I mean, it's like betting against like the Tampa Bay Lightning in hockey. Like, yeah, they didn't look that good this year, but you still like very tentative to bet against them. So, always good, always a solid team. I don't know, man. Klay Thompson to me just doesn't look like he's got it right now, but no,
or hasn't.
He doesn't. He's been knocking down like the open shots that they get him, but his ability to create, like he used to be able to post up a little bit if he had a smaller guy on him. It's really not there for him at the moment. But again, write them off at your own peril. Totally. I'm probably going to write them off at my own peril. I'm probably going to bet the Lakers tonight. But anyways, that's just me. Matt kind of seems like he's a little bit on the edge. So do you have like more of a play you're definitely making for this one or anything? Or if not, again, fine. We'll move on. We'll talk about futures or whatever. But I didn't like the props as much in this game. I think the one that I ended up selecting was the over on Draymond's assist prop, just because it was lower than usual. It was down at 6.5. It might be up to 7.5 now. Right. But wherever it's at, like if you think Draymond has an impact on this game, I think he does it with his passing. And I think that correlates with a Warriors win, with a Klay Thompson over. Like that's just kind of the narrative. If the Warriors win this game tonight, I think that's kind of the road that it comes through. Yeah. And I mean, again, he scored a bunch of points in the last game, but his typical usage is rebounds and assists and making an impact there. So I will say that my favorite bet on the board right now is the Nuggets to win the West at minus 135. Minus 135. Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, so you like I think that the Suns were the second best team in the West. Right. Okay. And I think that Denver pretty thoroughly dismantled them. I mean, obviously they did it in game 6 and game 5, but even the 2 games that the Suns won, you know, it really took like historic performances from Devin Booker to keep those games close.
Yeah.
I think that with the Nuggets now resting, and this Warriors-Lakers series potentially could go to 7 games still.
Right.
I think everything is set up for the Nuggets to win the West. And honestly, I think they're my pick to win the title at this point. And I think that it would be great for Nikola Jokic. You know, kind of for years we've heard about how his game is great. He's great at racking up stats during the regular season. Doesn't necessarily translate to the playoffs. You know, kind of the old knock that like he's a better fantasy player than he is a real life player.
Yeah.
I think that the argument for anyone other than Jokic as the best player in the league right now is just foolish. You can't make it.
It's pretty thin.
Unless apparently you're Mark Jackson, who didn't even give him a top 5 vote for the MVP, which is just shameful, and he deserves to be removed from any future broadcasts because of that. But yeah, Nikola Jokic, he's just playing so good right now. Same for Jamal Murray. They have great depth, and they're going to have home court against anybody but the Celtics. I really like this Nuggets team. I think for sure they win the West, so that's why I lean towards that minus 135. But winning the title odds at plus 240, yeah, I'm in on that too.
And I mean, I'd almost just take them to make the finals, just based off your analysis, because I mean, I don't like the way the Celtics have looked. If they face the 76ers, that feels like just a gong show. I mean, in favor of the Nuggets. And you can always hedge off if you really don't like I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. You could hedge.
Yeah.
I respect the Celtics too much. I mean, they've been the best team in the league this season.
Yeah.
And it's why when they went down 3-2 to Philly, you know, like the narrative about that series being over really kind of surprised me because, you know, they were number 1 in net rating all year. They were still favored in game 6. They're going to be roughly 7-point favorites in game 7. I respect Boston too much to that they're still the favorites in my eyes.
I guess the benefit of betting the Nuggets finals now is you get that extra out if Philly does come through in game 7, because this line is going to be plus 240. So that is something to think about. But the other thing you could do is just bet the conference winner for Denver now, and then just bet them again in the next series if you still like them against Boston. So there's different ways to play it. I'm with you though. I think that looks pretty good. I mean, I'd love to see the Lakers Nuggets, but I mean, you got to figure Nuggets have a pretty solid edge there in that kind of series. But okay, man, lots of stuff to think about there. Love that Nuggets call. I didn't know that about Mark Jackson. That's sad. Anyways,
it got released yesterday.
Oh, did it? It was only yesterday. Okay.
Or yesterday or whatever it was. I just remember thinking like, this is a man who makes his living talking about the NBA. And he didn't have Nikola Jokic in the top 5 for MVP balloting.
It's funny because I mean, I was doing research on NFL MVP voting, and you know, you're going through how it's voted, and you're like, I wonder if any of these jabronis like, you know, didn't vote for Patrick Mahomes last year or something like that. And then so I wonder if like somebody polices the voters and be like, your voting was so.
Oh, it's definitely a big thing in NBA circles now, where, and it's why like voter fatigue and stuff like that, I don't think it really exists as much anymore.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows that you're going to get shamed if you make a bad vote. So everybody knows what, you know, Zach Lowe is writing about, and they're very tuned in, unless you're just oblivious like Mark Jackson clearly is.
Right, apparently. All right, man. Do you have anything going on the Diamond today?
Let's talk about hockey. I want your hockey takes.
Let's go to the rink, man. I mean, it's the playoffs, so yeah, we should go to hockey next. 2 games
Two
there
games.
too.
2 games tonight, right? Panthers, Maple Leafs, Oilers, Golden Knights. I want to start with the later game because I remember before this series started, you were like, this is a nightmare matchup for Vegas. The Oilers are just too fast. They're too talented. And for as much as I've been paying attention, which granted is minimally, it seems like that series has been a little bit more competitive than maybe people have thought it was going to be.
It has been, but the reason it's been competitive is the Oilers have taken like 6 periods off. So they took the
Yeah.
entire game 3 off. Like they just didn't show up. Game 1, they played about 1 full period. And then their goaltender is still trying to figure things out as well. So, but go like, okay, and that's basically the story of the series. Cause you know, if Edmonton shows up game 1, or if their goalie shows up, they probably push it to OT. Game 3 was a write-off. The other 2 games have just been the Oilers just dominating them. Because I think the biggest thing to me, what I've seen is Edmonton is still figuring out their younger team, how to just bring the intensity every game for a playoffs. And it sounds simple. It's like, how aren't you intense in the playoffs? But they've got a lot of guys who haven't done it before. You know, like their high end just doesn't show up, hasn't just shown up every single game. But I do think that, you know, it showed up in the last 2 games against the Kings when they closed out the series. And I think you're going to see the same thing there. And I think the Golden Knights made a real big mistake at the end of game 4. They absolutely poked the bear. You got their defenseman, complete meathead, trying to basically chop the hands off Leon Draisaitl, firing up Connor McDavid. And now the Oilers defenseman got suspended because he jumped in to protect his teammates. So I think what you're going to have here is a really pissed off Edmonton team. I think it's just going to help them focus. And when they've been focused in this series, it hasn't really been close. So it's been a little bit closer, but I just think it's just a younger team who's still figuring things out. So it's a 3-game series, but I would just take Edmonton through the way here. The other thing is Vegas has, I mean, it's held up okay, but their goaltending is terrible. Like Aiden Hill and Laurent Brossoit are not playoff goaltenders. So I think that's going to get exposed in the last 2 or 3 games here as well. But look, Vegas isn't, maybe I went a little bit too far. Like Vegas isn't a bad team. I just still think that, you know, with their goaltending situation, and now Pietrangelo being out, which is a bigger loss for them than Nurse being out for the Oilers, because Pietrangelo is a very good player. I think that this one could be rough sailing for them. Like the over in this game with 2 top defensemen being out too, and the goaltender still being weak. But yeah, I think the other angle here is really looking for Connor McDavid and his line to potentially take off here. So, you know, Connor McDavid, you could look to the over 1.5 props, but if you want to take a little bit more risk, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins plays his wing. He had 2 points in the last game. If McDavid brings it again, Nugent-Hopkins is going to benefit there. He's plus 170 to get over 1.5 points, so to get 2 points essentially. Those are the players I'd be looking on in Edmonton, because I think you're going to see McDavid really bring it there again.
Feels like a very same game parlayable option,
Yes.
right? Like if you like Edmonton, right, they have at least 5 goals in both of their wins in this series, and I would imagine a lot of that damage, like you said, is being done by the top line. So that might be an interesting way to sort of look at this series.
I mean, look, we could, unfortunately, we can only use the goal scorers, but I mean, you could take, you know, well, obviously goal scoring a little bit, but you can take Nugent-Hopkins in the same game parlay. I'm just building it out right now. Over 6.5 goals. You go to the game line, add in Edmonton. I mean, we're already at plus 450, and you could probably throw in something else there, like the Oilers team total or something like that. So you can, I mean, again, you know, that first line.
Yeah, give me 4.5.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, maybe 4. Yeah, you'd have to go to 4.5 to really get a bigger bump there. So, but I mean, that's exactly what I'd be looking for, man. I mean, you know, more goals, Oilers probably, and someone on the top line like Nugent-Hopkins or McDavid. So yeah, it's been a little bit closer, but when the Oilers have showed up, the ice has been heavily tilted in their favor. So, you know, it reminds me of what Boston's going through right now in the NBA. When they've showed up, it's been pretty good. I think that series has been a little bit closer, but same kind of thing with Edmonton right now.
And then in the other series, same old Maple Leafs, you know, just wilting in the playoffs. And, you know, no disrespect to Florida. Florida knocked off, you know, one of the greatest regular season hockey teams in the history of the NHL. So I don't think like it's a huge shock that Florida has taken a 3-1 lead in this series. It just feels like every year Toronto has so much talent up and down their skaters at a minimum, and it's just every year they wilt in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're getting exposed in certain areas. They're not getting any role scoring. You know, their top players haven't even been that bad. Like Matthews has been okay. It's been a little bit snake bitten. I don't really think it's his fault. They're just not getting any contributions, whereas Florida is getting it from like 3 lines. They're getting better goaltending. They're getting better contributions from the blue line. And I think that probably shines through again. Like, I expect Toronto to come out fast, but like Florida, I think if this is like a tie game 2-2 in the third, I mean, Florida's role players are probably going to come through again. So I see a lot. I know that the money is tilting towards Toronto and they're at home, and I've seen a lot of people just be on it. But I mean, I got to be honest. Like, I don't know why the line is this big. I mean, it's 3-1 Florida. Like you've got Justin Hall in net, who's like got no playoff experience. I think that this is fine. I think, last night I was talking about how sometimes these money lines look like a trap. And last night it was definitely a trap to take the big odds with the Kraken. But this is not a talent thing. Like, the Florida Panthers have talent. Matthew Tkachuk is one of the best players in the NHL right now. They have good offensive defensemen. They, like I said, their role players are better. They got better depth. Like, I think this is disrespectful to the Panthers to be a plus 150. So I'm expecting a tighter game too. I do like the under at 6.5. It's an elimination game. And I think what you're going to see is just Florida probably hanging around and just getting that late goal when they need it and closing it out. Kind of similar to what happened with Carolina and New Jersey last night.
So if you're only making one bet, right? And it can be anything. It can be a future. It can be a prop. It can be a side. If you're only making one bet on the sports book right now, what's it going to be?
I mean, I got to be honest. I'd probably just roll with my team, which is the Oilers.
Okay.
It's not what you call like the ideal line, but
I mean, minus 135 is not that heavy for a team as good as Edmonton is.
No, and I think that's the thing, right? Like, if the Oilers A game shows up, this is going to look ridiculously short. Like, just as an example, I mean, like the Stars were like minus 190 last night, and the Vegas is better than the Kraken, but I also think the Oilers are probably a little bit better than the Stars. So when you start to think about it from that perspective, yeah, I like that. And my second favorite would be the under in that the other game. So really, those would be my 2 favorite bets from it. Again, I do like the Panthers, but I'm expecting a close game, and close games it can go either way. So give me the under in the first game and the Oilers just straight up.
So one other question. This is completely non-sports book related, but the draft lottery was last week.
Yeah.
And I heard them talking about this kid who is going to go first overall.
Yeah, Bedard.
Saying that he is more advanced at his current age than Connor McDavid was, than Sidney Crosby was.
Yeah.
Like, what are we about to get? And did the NHL rig it to make sure that he ended up in Chicago?
Probably. They don't want another. They want like Winnipeg getting it, or another small market Edmonton team, right? Or a Canadian team, I should say. So, but no, I mean, it's, like, it is good for the league. In all honesty, we didn't need him to go to like Arizona or something like that. Unfortunately, sorry, Coyotes, but it just really would not have been good for the league. I think it's good he's going there. I mean, in terms of overall talent, yeah, he is definitely like in that stratosphere. I mean, I'm pretty hesitant to say that someone's going to be as good as Connor McDavid, because Connor McDavid might be like the most dominant player in any sports league right now. Like, really, he might be. So it's pretty lofty, but he does look, he's going to be a top player. I mean, if he's not quite on McDavid's level, it's going to be close. It's going to be just the second tier down, like he's Nate McKinnon, Matthews, but there's definitely a path that he could be on that level, and we may have 2 superstars, going at it, similar to like Gretzky and Lemieux at some point. So really interested to see how he does and what happens. He's going to be on probably a bad team next year in Chicago. So, McDavid was on a bad team for a few years as well, but you'll know right off the bat. That's what I like about hockey. Sometimes players won't like produce necessarily like they're supposed to, but you will know right off the bat.
Yeah, my guy Jack Hughes, kind of for a few years there, was
Hughes had injuries, and he's definitely shown through. But you can even see it with Hughes. Once he got healthy, it was just so evident right off the bat that the talent was there. So I think you'll see it with Bedard. If he's got that McDavid level, you're going to see it quickly. If he's kind of a second tier, it may start off a little bit slower, but I'm I'm pretty confident he's going to be, really, really good either way.
Yeah, I heard somebody describe him as a running back on skates, which I don't know, sounds pretty useful in hockey.
Yeah, he's got some wheels. He's got a shot. He's the full meal deal for sure. Again, I'm probably tempering expectations more than I should.
It's funny that you can't even bet it, right? He's not.
No,
you're
no.
looking at the sports book, like there's no odds for him.
Oh yeah. There's no like, oh yeah, like this is gonna switch, or like late round, like if somebody made a Reddit thread right now on it and was like, oh yeah, they're gonna do, like, it would just get laughed out of the building. There's nothing, like it's such a foregone conclusion that, yeah, but yeah, it's good for the NHL to have players like this coming in. It'll add intrigue to them on their draft. It'll get more eyes on them early in the season. So big year. I mean, big things coming next year, and it'll be interesting to see, like I said, exactly how he hits the ground.
So draft betting, NHL draft betting, I know it's a thing. We obviously have it here listed on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Is it something that you have partaken in the past, and do you find it to be like an exploitable market? I know that last year, just because I was helping one of my friends kind of grind through some of this stuff, I can't bet any draft stuff in New York, but there was definitely some late movement on who was going to end up being the number one pick last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. In a more normal year, there would definitely be, you could treat, like, I think that the NHL draft is probably in a lot of ways more exploitable. It doesn't get bet down as heavily. It's not going to get, if there's news, there's rumblings, it's not going to be as fast movement. So you can definitely, look to it. I mean, right now, Fantilli is minus 450. That's probably where he'll go. And like, to be honest, at that number, I'm not going to bet it right now, but like, if that sticks around for much longer, it's probably not a bad bet. I mean, obviously you want to wait until you get close to the draft, but I don't know if there's really much doubt about who's going number 2. I think once you get past there, it becomes interesting. But yeah, I've bet it before. I haven't got into it at all yet this season, but as we get closer to it, it's something I'm definitely going to look into. So it's just the same as the NFL draft, but like, this is what I always say about NHL. It's a good sport to bet because things don't move as fast on news.
Yep.
And it applies to the draft too. People just don't pay as much attention to it. So sometimes you'll just get lines that just hang out there and you'll be like, is this legit? And it's just because there's not as many people betting NHL. So you can look into things like that. And yeah, man, as we get closer, I mean, maybe we'll talk about it one Friday or something, but for right now, I mean, yeah, we only got the 2 and 3 picks. It's a little bit different year, but certainly could be some opportunities as we go on.
Yeah, we can definitely go through that as we get closer to the draft. I love stuff like that. So maybe I'll even do a little research so I can participate,
Any niche market is always good to look into if you're betting. There's always sometimes lines out there and stuff going on that people miss.
That said, I was going to make a Will Smith joke at number 3. Like, I might throw a little slap on Will Smith there, but decided to pass. Although I guess by telling that story, I didn't really decide to pass. So you could be the judge of that.
No, this is a good reference. I mean, if you didn't do it, I probably would have. So
one question just before we get out of here, I saw was somebody wanted to know who my favorite stack was tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I think obviously Boston and the Cardinals, that's going to be your top game to target here, just with the expected offense in that game. The total currently sitting at 11 runs. Coors Field also, of course, in play, but it's just super hard to pay up for Coors tonight, given how many really good stud pitchers there are on the slate. So I probably lead towards like St. Louis as the road team. I always think taking road teams as opposed to home teams in MLB makes sense because you're guaranteed 9 innings of at-bats as opposed to just 8 as the home team. We haven't seen James Paxton pitch in more than 2 years. Who knows what he's got left in the tank. So I would lean towards the Cardinals, even though they have been just absolutely awful this year.
Right. And is Adam Wainwright still just, last time I remember researching an Adam Wainwright for a game, he was just a home run fiend, wasn't he? Is he still
the thing is, like, he did
Is he like good again?
improve. He did improve the last
Yeah.
couple of years, but this season has he's only made one start, and he gave up 4 runs in 5 innings. So it was not a good start, but his advanced metrics in that start were awesome. So shrug emoji. That's how I am approaching Adam Wainwright. I have no idea what to expect from him.
He's had a bit of a roller coaster career from what I
yeah.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, we got the 2 biggest totals there if you're looking for stacking. Matt likes the Cardinals, makes some sense against a guy who has not pitched for a while. And then just running through the totals again. Yeah, I got the Coors game. Got a 10-10er there on the Giants and the D-backs as well. Another game to potentially target. Dodgers late game hammer down there could be good. But yeah, big night in MLB. We didn't really go through any of it, but Matt gave you favorite stacks. So there you go, because it's time for us to say goodbye and have everyone have yourselves a good weekend. And Matt, you can follow Matt. What's your Twitter? I always forget. It's M Lamarca, right?
Matt Lamarca.
It's just at Matt Lamarca.
Yes, sir.
Follow me on Twitter at the Fantasy Grind. Hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll be back Monday. We got the Sweat coming at you 11 a.m. Eastern every day, and we got the Slate coming at you guys around 5 p.m. Eastern as well. Tune in. See you guys next week.